Hey everybody, it's Hatter, coming to you from Japan. Uh, 40 year, uh, 40 years living in Japan, U.S. Navy veteran, and I started this channel to kind of talk about my experiences, and also I have MS, so I may be a little choppy. MS has ravaged a lot of my body and has recently scrambled my my brain function. So, uh, but I'm not gonna let that kick me in the butt. And I'm gonna power through. So I think the first video I kind of talked about a little bit about being in Japan for 40 years. I came over in 1985. Um, so I was 17 years old, and being 17 years old in Japan in 1985 was, wow, a very sobering experience. And when I first came, there was no English words, no romanji. Everything was in kanji or hiragana, katakana. So at that time, you had to learn or memorize kanji, and I can't tell you how many times I got lost on the train. And it was it was always an adventure. Driving a car was even worse. If you were on a highway and you um, got to a toll gate and you weren't on the right path, you were wasting money. And back then, the yen rate went from like 250 to about 100, somewhere around there, pretty quickly. It dropped. So we became instantly poor uh, um, as the yen rate, as the yen became a lot stronger. And but however, um, there I read a lot about this racism thing and discrimination, and there's a whole lot of stuff that's kind of being said about uh, Japan first, and I think Japan being xenophobic, but none of that. Well, first of all, there are bad people everywhere in every country. We all have them, right? So they are um, just the scum of the earth, I guess. Anyways, and there's a very distinct difference between noticing somebody who is and their differences, their cultural differences and their racial differences, versus uh, you know um, discriminating against them based on that. And I've never had any of this. I've never had my prosperity taken away. I've never had opportunities uh, removed because of who I was. Um, but I did, in 1985, Japan was not as international, and so there were a lot of places where they had signs that said no foreigners allowed, and I think it was more uh, for the fact that if you understand Japan, there's a whole lot of pride. There's a thing called losing face, and they, you know, walking into a restaurant back then, you didn't have you didn't have English menus or anything that you can even remotely understand. And even the prices were all in kanji, the characters. So you just had to roll. You had to roll with it, and so the shops, um, they want to give you the best experience, but they don't know how to communicate with you, and uh, so they feel that it's a disservice to you and to them, to have that communication gap and cultural gap as well. Um, but yeah, there were. If you walked around Japan, it was not Kansas anymore, kind of. So when I got to Narita, it was one terminal. The bus ride after like a 11-hour flight was another 6 hours or something to Yokosuka Naval Base. So, and at 17 years old, it was that initial experience of getting off the airplane and being in total silence throughout the entire airport was not lost on me. And therefore I understood that there was a immediately right off the bat that there was that this country valued quietness, and so they basically, that's how it, that's my experience walking off. So over time you kind of start to adapt and understand that your host country, it makes perfect sense that they are that the rules of that country are different. Silence and manners and language, not being able to communicate. A lot of these things put you at a disadvantage. So if you wanted to experience the country, you couldn't complain and tell them you have a right to something, because they wouldn't even understand what you're saying to them, and they would just look at you very confused. So what you do is you settle in and you define who you want to be in this country. I never wanted to be Japanese. Unfortunately, there's a lot of foreigners who try to be more Japanese than Japanese, which blows my mind. And I think it blows a lot of my friends' minds too, that are, my Japanese friends, because it's okay to be what do they call it, like a fan, an ultra fan of this, and want to immerse yourself. But you're not Japanese. You will never be Japanese, and as long as the quicker you come to that conclusion, the more that you can kind of put that out of your mind and get to defining how you want to be in the society. And so for me, I chose to be an American. But over the years, I've kind of been molded by Japanese culture values internally. Like I said, some of my Japanese friends, I do things that they don't even do, which I just kind of pick up as my own things that I like to do. And it's kind of weird because they think I'm boring when I do that stuff, and so it goes back to what I was trying to say is you can immerse yourself as much as you want, but just remember, not everybody is not everybody is as Japanese as the Japanese try to package Japan. So I guess that's the best way I can say it. But is this country racist? No. Is this country xenophobic? No. Uh, However, there are places out in the countryside that don't have that great of an appreciation for foreigners. And they, there's their own, like, just like take the United States for instance. It's not as bad, but there's a propaganda machine that rolls through the society. Japanese are anything but perfect, and they're not as harmonious as a lot of people on TikTok and YouTube try to sell them to be. They're just people. They got problems. They have bills. They've got bad marriages. They've got good marriages. They've got extramarital affairs. They got lawsuits, and they got everything going on. So they have crime. They have it's just on a smaller scale because it's a smaller country. So I think you should always take a step back and realize you know that you're in another country, and one, you're not really deeply understanding that situation probably, and even if you're like fluent in Japanese, even Japanese misunderstand Japanese, right? So I've worked in corporate Japan for, oh God, 25 years. And I've been in meetings with all Japanese, in full Japanese. And there are plenty of Japanese who are completely lost as to what the speaker is even talking about. So again, it isn't, they're just normal, just like us. So the moment that you kind of stop trying to put them in this little magical special category, then you realize that it's just a society that's different. And the next part is, how do for people who constantly need validation, this is not the place. I like being in Japan because a lot of times I'm invisible. The Japanese have a I see it a lot on the trains where if they don't see you, you don't exist, right? So it's only when you go and pop their bubble. So if you notice, they all walk around with a stone face, but if you are able to go up and pop that bubble, they're completely a different person. So I do admire that ability to just be very stoic and just go from point A to point B without that much of a social interaction with anything. So that does. Living in Japan 40 years, I've learned to love that. When I go back to the United States, I love Americans. They love to have small talk, and they love to talk and chit chat. And when I'm in first day in America, I'm completely overloaded with people opening the door or saying a greeting you, and so or talking about the weather. Like, okay, that's cool. And it's just that they're sweet, wonderful people. And that goes for everywhere else. I mean, even China. I spent a lot of time in China too, but people are extremely curious, warm, and kind. Put governments and politics aside. But anyways, in Japan, I digress. I think it's a country of tolerance. I think we're seeing now. Maybe it was too tolerant. I always felt that way. I always felt that the Japanese people, the government always piled more and more and more on top of the Japanese society, and Japan just holds it, right. It's gimu, right. It's they're the society as a country working together, and doing it in kind of a very humble way, but in a very structured, controlled way. And so the anyways, it's just a great place to be. There's nothing. Like I said, I've had a career here. They take good care of me. Like I said, 40 years paid into the taxes and my ninking and retirement, pension, everything. So I can't live anywhere else. And like I said, I said in my previous video, with my disease, I finally found a team that is really dedicated and good and locked in on Team Michael. And so I think that's the most valuable thing in life. If you can find that and achieve that, then that's probably you're rich in life. And as I said, I look at Japan, not from the YouTube, TikTok point of view. It just doesn't exist. But I look at Japan as a country that I've no matter what, I'm in for the long haul. This is a country that lives on the ring of fire. So we can have a natural disaster at the drop of a hat, and we're all in this together. I think the last time that the earthquakes, there's a lot of foreigners that just flew out of the country. They called them flygeens, which were basically foreigners that were just running for the airports to get out of the country. And I honestly think that's fine. If you're only a visitor or you're just an expat, that's completely fine. But for me, this country has given a lot to me, and I would give everything back to the country that I can. And I'll talk more about it. I think I've rambled on for a long time, and I've kind of floated all over the place. But this is just, I guess, a way for me to decompress and share some. I wanted to address this thing about racism. It doesn't. It exists everywhere, but I've never experienced it. I've never had. I've had. I'll tell you a story, just to kind of sum it up, and I'll relate it to real world. So I I'd moved my house, and I was walked out outside of my house, and there was a lady and her 2 children were outside, and one of the little girls looked up at me and looked over at her mother and said, basically, in English, what, another foreigner? You know, mata gaijin. So it was something like that, and the mother, because obviously the girl just, she was like maybe 4 or 5 years old. She was really, or maybe 6, I don't know. She was really small, and so she was just parroting, repeating what her parents had said. And I looked at her and I said, "Hey," I said, "우리가 일본인이죠." I told her I'm a Nihonji desu. And so she looked up at me with, kind of squinted her eyes up at me and looked up at me, and she said, "Okay." And she accepted me as a Japanese. Now, if I was an American, in certain parts of America, in a space that's called the race game, I would have probably been ultra sensitive and got a news crew, or some civil rights group to come, and we could have marched and protested outside that house and demanded a bunch of stuff. And of course, that you can't do any of that in Japan, because it just, who cares? But then when I walked away, I realized that it was to the point of what was actually what was sensitive about, I wasn't that sensitive about it, and I shouldn't have been, and that would have been the difference between, I think, the average American, good-hearted American, would have just basically said, "Yeah, little lady, I'm different," or would have embraced it and taken that moment to not to like try to teach, or but really just to, yeah, I'm different. Yeah. But I chose to say, no, I'm like you. And she accepted it. And her mother was mortified. And I was like, "Yeah, it's cool, man. It's nothing to get all upset about." But those situations always, those they'll come up. I mean, everybody's going to ask you. I've been in this country for 40 years, and people still ask me, how long am I going to stay? Probably longer than them. The other ones I really love is when you're speaking Japanese and a Japanese person goes, "Oh, wow, your Japanese is so wonderful." And I say, so is yours. And then they look at me and they say, taken aback, and they go, "But I'm Japanese." And I go, "Yeah, but you don't own, you're not the, anybody can speak Japanese if they want." So that kind of blows away that barrier that they kind of see everything in, I guess, which is, foreigners are kind of temporary. They're in and out. So finding, it's not that hard today, but back then finding, permanent residents, or, people that are like really invested in living in Japan full time for the rest of their lives. That was very, very, very little, not so much. So, anyways, I've rambled on, and if you have stayed to this point, I'm really thankful, and if you even watched this, I'm very thankful. So, if you could, what did they say? Like, subscribe, and share. I'll get used to that. Anyways, thank you. Love all of you, and just have a great one. See you next time.